Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers, and this morning I'm looking at this book from Jordan's. It's quite a heavy book. It's Urgent Applications in the Court of Protection, written by two judges, now in the second edition, Her Honour Nazreen Pearce and District Judge Sue Jackson. That's the back cover. You can see the spine there, back cover. It runs to something like 600 pages. It's very much a standard publication for Jordan's. There's the index at the back. You can see the copy that is actually included. You've got paragraph numbering, which is actually, as you can see, on that side of the page, and then at the bottom you've got footnotes, which are extremely helpful to find particularly important matters. That's the actual front part of it. Then there's a very useful foreword. That was actually to the first edition by Denzil Lush, who's a senior judge in the Court of Protection. And then there is the preface, which is well worth looking at. Then, of course, you've got the contents there, and then they run through quite heavily. Then you've got the cases, statutes, and that's actually very helpful too in this particularly important area, because abbreviations do help. Then it starts off with some general stuff and then runs through. Jordan's are to be congratulated. They are the most important publishers really of this type of work, and they've made a special area for family law in what they actually produce. It's something we do rely on as practitioners. Now, my wife and I have written a review of this excellent book, and we've given it the title, which is on the web and in the journals. The Definitive Practice Handbook is what we call it, for the Court of Protection, fully updated for 2014. And this is what we say about the book. We say, for barristers, solicitors, those on local authorities or NHS trusts, or indeed anybody working with incapacitated adults, they will value the second edition of this well-established practitioner's guide to what is a sensitive and complex area of law. What gives this book, in our view, special authority is that the authors are experts in the field. As I've indicated, both Nazreen Pearce and Sue Jackson are or have been judges. Recently published, therefore, by Jordan's in Bristol, this comprehensive yet concise volume, which runs to about 600 pages, contains much new material, so you really need the latest edition if you're involved in this area of practice to remain up to date. For example, the new jurisdiction covered by the Mental Capacity Act is tracked together with analysis of case law on which its interpretation is largely based. And this is an area where cases and the authorities themselves are really quite important and figure very heavily in what you're doing. As the two authors remind us, the Court of Protection Rules 2007 offer simple, clearly defined procedures in respect of the various applications which come before the court, each supplemented by a practice direction. Let me give you a quote. Although the rules are simple to follow, explain the authors, the forms are prescribed for applications made in the Court of Protection. Practitioners who are relatively inexperienced, therefore, or not too familiar with the applicable law, can find this a bit of a maze, and they obviously are trying to make it as simple as possible for us, and I think they've succeeded. The authors have therefore offered this book as a step-by-step guide which will help practitioners provide clients with the necessary advice, assistance and support which they're seeking. I think it will also assist with the procedure and the drafting, and the emphasis on all of this throughout being the issue of urgency, which makes it particularly practical, because there's always the problem of getting up against the time constraints and getting things in on time and so forth. To add interest and enhance clarity, the applications and orders are illustrated with reference to stories, fictional but illustrative. And I'm very pleased that they do that, because quite often the problems you've got as a practitioner when you see the client, you need to try and link it to something that you will have either experienced before or you've read about, so you can see how the thinking of the court may be approaching a particular issue. and its finality. The book's divided into 6 sections, covering all matters pertaining to the Court of Protection, including new material which ranges from property and affairs to enduring and lasting powers of attorney to personal welfare enforcement and appeals. The new section 4 on deprivation of liberty deals very helpfully with an issue that is now assuming increasing importance with a larger number of people in this category, as do all the other matters examined in the book, all of which to greater or lesser degrees impact on an ageing population. For those researching further, of course, note the numerous footnote references which I showed earlier, and the extensive tables of cases which you have, including, of course, both statutes and SIs, as well as the table of practice directions and codes of practice. The 2 appendices include the Mental Capacity Act 2005 itself for ease of reference. Now let me conclude by saying, as the population continues to age, in the wake of continuing advances in medical science and preventative medicine, the legal consequences and implications of the ageing process will assume increasing importance to practitioners, we think, and certainly that is happening at the moment in practice. Therefore, the usefulness and value of the book is such that it should be in every practitioner's library if you're involved in this area of law. The law is stated at the 1st of February 2014, and just to remind you, that's the book itself. It's quite heavy. You've got your basic statement about it at the back, and then you've got, for instance, that's the middle bit, urgent medical treatment, what to do with something which is really, that's actually quite a substantial chapter, something which crops up very quickly and you have to deal with it. I'd like to thank Jordans again for supporting us so brilliantly with this sort of publication, and to the 2 authors who bring a huge amount of their own personal knowledge and expertise to bear. Without this sort of thing, we really would have some difficulties. I can remember rather long time ago now that there just were very few things available to us, so I'm very grateful that we have this today. Thank you to all concerned, and we'll see how things go. This is a new edition and very helpful for 2014. Thank you, bye bye.